What is an adult life equivalent of calling your teacher mom? I have accidentally said, "love you," when hanging up on a work call. I once did this with a girl I had been on 2 dates with. Needless to say, there was no third date. I was given a lift home by a colleague from work once, and when he stopped to let me out of the car I leaned in for a kiss, as it was what I would do to my wife. Thankfully he was looking the other way at the time. I did this once with a cop. I was driving to a law school exam when my car broke down on the freeway. A cop came and pushed my car off the closest off-ramp. I explained that I was on my way to an exam and asked if it was possible to leave my car there for a few hours. He was super nice and said he'd put a note on the car not to tow it and would give me a ride to my exam. When he dropped me off, I leaned in for the kiss and then realized what I was doing and fled the car without thanking him. I still feel bad about that. Once I was in the airport and I went to get a sandwich. I stood at the counter to tell the worker to give me a turkey sandwich, which he prepared. He handed it to me and his co-worker noticed he didn't microwave it, so he extended his hand to me over those glass container fingers, which have food displayed in them, so he can take it to microwave it. I didn't understand why he was extending his hand, so I smiled and shook it. He laughed and pointed at my food and told me he has to heat it. I felt dumb as hell. I'm sure he appreciated it. That probably made his day. Handed a 20 to the officer instead of my license last night. At Dollar Tree the other day, my boyfriend walked up to the cashier and she said almost immediately, "How was your meal?" And then, "Oh, wrong job." I used to work 2 jobs, one at Chipotle and one at a pet store. Several times when completing a transaction at the pet store register, I would ask, "Would you like chips with that?" Cringe, cringe, cringe. These days I rarely talk on the phone to anyone who isn't family, so "love you, bye" is a standard phone call ending. We had some issues at our house last year and I'm pretty sure I told 2 contractors and the insurance adjuster I love them. Edit. Thanks to all who posted to let me know I'm not the only one. I love you all. When I was 8 or 9 I was trying to call my dad at work and the receptionist said he was busy. So I said to tell him to call me back and ended the call by saying, "I love you," and then apologizing. When my dad called me back he was like, "Never apologize for saying I love you to anyone, ever." I've said I love you while on autopilot since then, but I've never said sorry for it. It really stuck with me. I've had 1 or 2 people say I love you without thinking about it and have never hesitated to say I love you too. Never gotten love you too back from it though. Anyway, I love you, bye. I have a friend who used to work as a nursery school teacher and then went to a job in an office. The transition was not easy. Apparently she started her first presentation by saying, "Alright everyone, quiet down, fingers on lips." The reason she tells the story is that about half the people in the room, including her immediate boss, did it instinctively. Just picturing it is hilarious. On the way back from a client meeting with one of the partners, he wasn't paying attention when the light turned green and I said, "Hey, babe, you gotta go." And then I died. What happened? They died. Calling your girlfriend by your ex's name. This sounds much worse for some reason. Yes, and you will be stuck in an infinite loop of, "Wait, who is Cindy?" until she figures it out herself. But you would have to sleep on the couch till she is assured. "Cindy, it's been 3 days, can I come sleep on the bed now please?" Shit, scene changed to person sleeping on the lawn. One of my soldiers called me dad in boot camp. It was pretty hard not to laugh. This reminds me of being in boot and, as a lady, coming across a male drill instructor and saying, "Yes ma'am," out of instinct. Walking up to the wrong car and freaking out when you can't unlock it. Haha, of course we've all done this. But one step further, I was with my brother in Florida for a family event. We had rented a car. Now anyone who knows anything about the Fort Lauderdale area is that the average age is around 72 and their favorite cars seem to be Gold Hyundai Elantras. We walked over to the car after food shopping, got in, and try as I might could not turn the key in the ignition. When I looked around and noticed we were in the wrong car, my brother and I looked at each other and just booked it. Stop leaving your cars unlocked, people. My friend was on a toilet. Someone knocked and she said, "Come in." I like to say, password. If awkward silence was the password, they'd get it right every time. Also good, come back with a warrant. I had a co-worker who would jokingly call our chief Big Daddy behind his back. We were all working a little late one night and she let, "Hey Big Daddy," slip as he walked in. To her credit, she owned it and now calls him that in regular conversation. Still weird though. Going on autopilot and coming terrifyingly close to giving my short female employees mudgies like I do my daughters. Good job sport, mudges. Ah sorry Brenda. I'm a teacher. I unthinkingly scolded my dog the other day with, "Follow the directions." We kinda just stared at each other for a second while I realized how ridiculous I sounded. When my husband got home from work once, I told him to please get ready for dinner quickly and quietly. He looked at me incredulously and then I realized what I said and I'm like, I don't take it back. I'm a dental hygienist. My patient was a man who had just turned 91 the day before. Instead of saying, "Happy late birthday," like a normal fucking human being, I accidentally, and very loudly, said, "Happy last birthday." The look on his face, y'all. This was also my second day at my new job. My husband has mixed up my and his sister's name more than once. Also, calling your kids the pet's name. I always mix up my wife, daughter, and sister's names. My dad used to always mix up my name with his brother's. Well, I've accidentally rubbed the back of some random chick at Walmart thinking she was my wife before. Not me, but my mom. She was in a meeting and not paying attention for whatever reason. Then someone asked her a question and she responded with, "What's that honey?" Made me crack up for so long. Calling your wife mom is pretty bad. I did that once almost 20 years ago and the cringe hasn't lessened over time. This happened to a co-worker years and years ago. We were tellers at a local bank. Every Christmas we had tiny candy canes to give to the kids of customers. One guy came through with his transactions. He had cash back. Teller 1 was helping him. She proceeds to give him his cash in a 100 bill and the candy cane for his kid. He looks at her and says, "Can I have that broken up?" She then proceeds to bash the candy cane to a pulp with my stapler and gives it back to him. Teller 2 just looked at her after the dude said thanks and drove off and said, "I think he meant the 100 bill. I will remember this story forever." When talking with family we always end our calls with, "I love you." So I'm on a call with my longtime assistant and as the call ends without thinking I say, "I low," and stop horrified as I couldn't think of how to finish it. Thank God she had a sense of humor. She said, "Oh, come on now. You can say it. Go ahead. Tell me you love me." So I did and we laughed about 4 years. Mixing up text messages between your wife and boss. I have done his far too many times. "On my way. Need anything from the store, babe?" Boss replies with, "Just those reports I requested, sweetie. But I'm fine getting them tomorrow morning." If you are a teacher, calling your students by their older brother/sister's name that you had before in your class. I once called an older female co-worker mom because she kinda looks and gives off a vibe like my mom. I'm a 50-year-old woman and when the IT guy fixes my computer I have to not pat him on the head. When the priest says, "May the Lord light up your life," and you reply, "And up yours," when I hear, "May the force be with you," I reply, "And also with you." Does putting veggies in the washing machine instead of the fridge count? I once saw a flustered young lawyer address a judge as, "Oh Lord." He was a big church person and had kinda fallen into a prayer cadence as he nervously argued. Everyone pretended it had not happened. I once went to court to dispute a traffic ticket. When prepping my case, I went over my statement with my wife. Luckily I did, because I had, "Your Majesty," written down instead of, "Your Honor," at the very beginning. Easy. Calling your boss daddy. He might get the wrong idea about what you're willing to do in order to get promoted. I'm one of those never save numbers in my phone kinda guys. When I was in the army, I was stationed somewhere with a different area code than mine and got to talking to a local girl. Things were getting heated one night over text, so we were sending raunchy things back and forth. I wasn't paying attention for a moment and sent a message to the wrong person by mistake. My sergeant replied, "Alright, I'm not really into all that, but make sure you show up to formation in the morning." Signing an email. Best retards. Tossing the plate of pizza rolls onto the couch rather than your phone. Why are you tossing pizza rolls onto your phone anyway? Ending a phone call with a client or colleague with, "Love you." I work in a prison where I have occasionally have a inmate say, "Alright officer Eno kid, have a good night, drive home safe." Hit him with the "thanks you too." Multiple life sentences. Getting my children's names mixed up or calling them by the pets' names. Thank you to everyone who upvoted me and commented your stories. Sorry I haven't replied to you all, but I've upvoted all of you. Glad to see I'm not alone. Virtual high five. When someone says happy birthday and you say thanks you too by accident. I called my housekeeper Daddy instead of Darcy. It was an autocorrect mistake in a text, but I didn't notice for 24 hours when I realized she never texted me back. I was absolutely mortified, but she thought it was hilarious. When she texted me 2 weeks later, her opening line was, "Who's your daddy?" I actually lost my mind in a meeting reading that. She's the sweetest older lady, and now my nickname for her is Daddy. You have been visited by the smart studying doggo. You'll be blessed with good grades only if you subscribe to Comment Awards and like the video. PG! On top, food chain, won't stop, new game, hot box that blue haze, 1 lot, 2 chains, no bras, 2 babes, mic drop, new stage, lights in my rear view, 5 cops, food race, faster than a Tesla, they say I'm exhausted.